Good afternoon, friends at Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance. I am really very pleased to be invited to your annual convention, the annual business convention. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to share ideas and thoughts with so many of you who together run such a dynamic and successful company with the larger purpose of helping Indians, most of whom, as you know, are not very well off and not very well employed, to plan and manage their life and finances better. My topic today is about the same theme that you have been deliberating in your company for a while, and which is the theme of this conference. It's customer obsession, which you have very nicely summarized as customer first, the customer first program. And to make it the mindset and the culture of everyone who is in this business is what you are setting out to do. Tarun has especially asked me to keep this simple. It is a very good warning for me because unlike the rest of you who have proper jobs, people like me who teach, we preach, we consult, which as you know is taking your watch and telling you the time. We tend to hide behind big words, we tend to hide behind abstract ideas. So I'm going to do my very best to not do so and to share my thoughts as simply as I think about them. The idea is to leave behind for every one of you some food for thought as you go about your own business. So some things I say you may agree with, some things you may disagree with, that's fine. I do hope you will find it interesting and good enough to think about. So first of all, let's ask the most fundamental question. Why be obsessed about the customer? I often joke that in many companies, customer-centricity programs are like prayer. Nobody can prove that if you pray, you will go to heaven, and nobody can prove that if you don't pray, you won't go to heaven. But if you look at it from just simply the point of view of financial targets that a company is trying to meet, or every one of you individually are trying to meet, the top line of the revenue target is about getting people, and customers are people first, about getting people to choose you, to spend with you, to spend more with you, to spend regularly with you. You want them to make you their choice. No matter what you say, no matter what you're told, you cannot force people, in my opinion, to do this or trick them to do this or force them and push them hard to do this. We can't even make our 3-year-olds do what we want them to do. So what chance do we have with fully formed adults who are our customers? So how to get them to choose me and not choose somebody else is one focus for customer, is our focus for customer obsession. It is one very good reason why you need to be obsessed about your customers. I will deal with questions I'm sure you're asking. So do I have to do everything the customer does? Is it customer obsession or profit? The answer is it's not. Customer obsession leads to profit is my point of view. So if your revenue line is all about customers, your cost line or your budget that you're working with is what does it take to get customers to choose me? Giving more margins to middlemen and saying is just offloading the problem onto somebody else. When you give more margin to middlemen and you say that does the trick, it means the customer is owned by the middleman and not you. And you are not strong enough for the customer to tell the middleman, I don't like this, I want that, as we do in many shops we go to, or even if we go to Amazon. Amazon is always trying to sell you whatever comes on top of its search list. But if brands are strong, if businesses are strong, customers then say, I want this and not that. So the cost of being able to achieve that is your cost line. Cost is also about your own efficiency. But efficiency for what? Efficiency to deliver to the customer what the customer actually wants to buy or choose. A simple example is before digital, it cost a lot of money to do a KYC. It cost many trips for us to do a lot of things that we wanted to do to close deals and get customers. Now with digital, things are much cheaper. That's efficiency. But efficiency cannot come at the cost of the customer. So even your cost is all about customers. Your own efficiency to be able to provide service efficiently to customers. And the profit that we all talk about merely is an arithmetic number. Subtract revenue, all about customers, minus cost, my efficiency to serve customers is equal to profit. Customer obsession is not market share obsession. And before top management kills me on that, let me make it clear. Market share is your revenue divided by the revenue of everybody in your peer group, right? It is one divided by the other. Customer obsession is about creating that revenue that will create that market share. So when you say I'm chasing market share, you have to obsess over what the customers, what you will do for customers to meet your targets better. When you talk about persistency targets, it again is about getting the customer to behave in a particular way. It's about making it happen, for which you have to understand customers. You have to find out why and how they will behave the way you want them to behave. So I hope by now I have demonstrated to you that customer obsession is at the heart. It is not different from your financials. It is at the heart of your financials. It is not different from profitability. It is at the heart of your profitability as well. So what is this thing called customer obsession? What do customer obsessed companies do? A customer obsessed company believes that you create, as I've said, wealth for the company by creating value for the customer. What is value for the customer? I will tell you that in a minute. Customer obsessed companies know that there are two ways of seeing things. If you think about those old pictures we used to see, you turn it one way, you have a smiling man, you turn it the other way, you have a frowning man. That's the way the world of customers is very different from our world. A customer obsessed company understands that the customer has a particular logic of his or her own, the customer has a particular way of looking at the world, and that our view of the world on our side of the table may not be the same as the customer view of the world. I could spend the whole day telling you examples of this. That's what I do for a living. But let me give you some examples. People say to me, oh, that's customer perception and this is reality. I say the reality is the customer perception. If the customer perceives something in a particular way, there is some reason why the customer is doing it, right? David Ogilvy, the famous advertising guru, used to say, the customer is not a moron. She may be your wife. So there is a customer logic. It's very different from yours. For example, many, many years ago, when Kinetic Honda first came out in the market, supplier on this side of the table said, this is a fantastic vehicle, right? It has a centrally mounted engine, therefore it is safer. In those days, the customer said, oh, a side mounted engine, the mechanic can repair easily. The centrally mounted engine is very hard. I don't think it's such a great idea. They said that, oh, we have separate petrol tanks for oil and fuel, so you don't have to sit and mix it at a petrol bunk. And the customer said, yeah, if I forget to add oil, then I have engine seizure. I don't think it's such a good idea. The company said that this is state-of-the-art fiberglass, it's fantastic, it's strong. The customer looked at it and said, it's like a Leo toy. And actually they had to go around getting elephants to stand on it to show that it was not like a Leo toy. The company said, I have direction indicators. The customer said, I stick my hand out. And when I stick my hand out, I know I have to turn left. The guy behind me knows I have to turn left. Why am I paying more for direction indicators? So as you can see, the story on the customer side is very different than the story it is on your side. Does this mean this never changes? Today you will not be able to want to buy a two-wheeler without direction indicators. But life changes, life moves on, but you have to be aware of what is perception on the other side of the story. Look at ATMs, for example. When ATMs first came, people thought technology is for the rich, not for the poor. But actually, if you asked a lower income person, why are you using an ATM and why are you not going to a teller at the bank? He said, the ATM doesn't care whether I withdraw 2 rupees or 20 rupees, whether I speak English or not, whether I have pajamas or I have denim jeans. And as a result of that, I prefer an ATM as compared to preferring this. A lot of lower income people tell you that tech-driven service, which is remote, is actually status blind. So if you're poor, you will get the same status as if you are rich. So I think that the story, for example, there was a gentleman who did solar powered ATMs, which were very, very interesting things. They were in the villages, and they said to people that it recognizes from your retina, you don't need to remember a PIN number. And the lady then turned around and said, if between me and the ATM there is only a 4-digit number, my son will beat it out of me. Make it such that if I don't choose to open my eyes, if I don't choose to extend my hand, my money is still completely safe. Similarly, people think about value very, very differently. We think about payments as just a simple payment system. But when my dhobi said to me the other day, "Koi baat nahi, khata mein dal do," I saw the pride in his voice. I saw the pride of ownership, the pride of not having to ask a middleman to take money, the pride of other people not knowing how much money you're sending your wife. So what seems like a simple act for us from the customer side is actually quite complicated. I always have arguments with about money. You know, to people who are in the business of money, money is about risk, return, liquidity, rational things. If we stop to think about ourselves as people, money is actually about a lot more things. Money is about status, it's about prestige, it's about joy, it's about friendship, it's about inheriting your children, disinheriting your children, getting them to fall in line. It's about a lot of things. My wealth advisor is always telling me, these are your total assets. And I'm saying, no, 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 no. My house is not my asset. Please take my house out because I will never sell my house. Now let's plan my future without my house. Similarly, what he says is my risk appetite. I keep a certain amount of money to the side and I say this is gamble money. Now, the person on the other side who's dealing with my money has got to understand why I want some money as gamble money, why I don't think about my house as part of my total assets. There are many ways in which I think about my money and that's important. For example, a lot of people say this is the limit for you and the limit is usually higher. In a 2-member earning family, the wife may or may not be able to manage everybody's money. So you have to start thinking about how money sits within households. People tell me, why don't you buy life insurance? And I'm saying, I'm now widowed. I don't really care who has it or doesn't have it after me. My children are settled. But if on the other hand you told me about my own old age and about how to manage my old age, I'm sitting and I'm listening. And I think that again people tell me you have to pay regularly on time and regular payments gives you discipline. I'm thinking regular payments for a self-employed person gives me stress. So every year if I'm supposed to pay at exactly that same time, surely you can do better for me than that. So I hope I've now illustrated that the world of customers, the way they think about things is quite different from the way we think about things. Think about your own experiences as well. What they tell you is really fantastic is not what you think is fantastic because your eyes see differently, your mind's eye sees differently. So think like a customer, understand that different customers see things differently. So what is very joyful for one customer is really not for another. My daughter will spend 1 lakh of rupees on a phone. I don't like spending 1 lakh on a phone. I will spend 1 lakh on diamonds without thinking twice. So clearly the value that I get from something is dependent on who I am as a person. Everyone says millennials think this way, but all 29-year-olds do not think that way. Some 29-year-olds who have parents to manage are not as carefree as some 29-year-olds whose parents are people like us. All old people also don't think the same way. I had a friend whose son was creating old age homes and he was from the Punjabi community, I'm from the South Indian community. And when he started, the son had gone and done research with his grandfather's friends, and when he came back and told me what features that old age home should have had, he talked about tambola, he talked about meeting spaces, he talked about old age as a social occasion. I come from a completely different community. And to me, old age, if I did these things, it would seem very strange to my family. And so even something as simple as how you manage old age is a function of where you come from, where you're going, what your wiring is. So customer obsession is about learning to see what the customer sees, understanding what logic the customer brings to the customer's head. I had promised you that I would tell you what is this thing called customer value, right? According to me, customers have computers in their head. I call it the dimag ka computer. And they actually look at you or any offer on the table. Should I buy a BMW? Should I buy a second-hand Maruti? Should I exchange something for something else? Should I buy an extra bedroom? Should I do location as compared to floor space? So they look at benefits. They look at costs. In their dimag ka computer, they look at the value they get from benefits, the value they get from costs, and they say benefit minus cost, what is the best option for me? So if A is giving me benefit minus cost of something and B is giving me benefit minus cost of something else, then I will pick the one that gives me the maximum and best benefit. That's what we call paisa vasool, right? And cost is not price, right? Customers think about costs in many different ways. If I don't manage to pay my premium, then what happens to my money is a cost, right? It is the probability that there will be a loss or a lapsation profit. So similarly, if you look at people who go to pathology labs and you ask them how much did this test cost you, they say aadha din ka casual leave. They say that in addition to half a day's casual leave, there is auto fare going up and down, and there is auto fare going up and down, and then there is a cost of the test, and so it costs me much more. So if an instant test is charging me a little more, I will compare that against this whole drama where the base cost is lower, and I will still pick one against the other. So often when the customer appears illogical or stupid, I think we have to go back and say, what is the logic that is driving the customer? And very often we don't listen enough to customers, we don't talk to them, we're so busy trying to get them to see things the way we see them, that's really where the problem happens. People tell me all the time that you have to build trust, you have to build trust. And I'm saying that you can build trust in very many simple ways. I mean, I always worry about my health insurance policy where I think if I'm lying in a coma somewhere, where does my family start looking for things? Does it start looking for my password on my phone? Does it look for a number? If I tell somebody in my household and that person is traveling on that day, what happens? So the question is, as a customer, I'm asking, whose business is it? Is it my business to keep track of my health policy? Or is it your business to keep track of me? And that's really how trust is built. I have to trust that you will think on my behalf and you will go all out in order to be able to make it possible for my family to be able to track and trace the health insurance and get it done. To say I have a cashless facility is one thing. What does it take to make that happen? So, if you Google, for example, I'm always struck. The only company that talks about how to claim your money is the big one. A lot of insurance companies are telling you how to buy a policy. They're not telling you how to claim. So the day you're willing to go out of your way and tell your customers, this is how you claim, and I'm putting your ability to claim ahead of my ability to sell you more, I think that is customer obsession. Every time I go on an app, I get very irritated because they're cross-selling me all the time. And I'm saying कि तुम्हारा business मेरे business से आगे क्यों है? I have limited time. I have to make a transfer. Why do I have to look at 5 of your sales pitches? You're not being customer obsessed. You're being product obsessed. You're being yourself obsessed. So I think that these are simple ways of how looking from the other side of the table is not so simple. People say, oh, we will educate the customer. I think a customer obsessed companies know कि दिमाग का software change करना है तो बहुत कुछ सोच समझ के change करना है. Why will we change our dimag ka software? If you don't like someone based on all the evidence you have and the assumptions you have, and you want me to change my assumption, you have to give me enough evidence, you have to think about why I hold a view. So education is not something you cram down somebody's throat and say change it. So I'll give you another example. Microsoft always said that piracy, Indians should not, piracy laws in India are not good, Indians are pirating too much, we have to do something about this, and I'm talking about many years ago. And I remember thinking that we're the country where Vedas come without a signature. A lot of stuff we have comes without signatures. So maybe we're not, our Jugaad gene is better than our law-abiding gene. I'm not saying it with pride, I'm saying it is what it is. So while Microsoft said, I must lobby the government and educate the customer and lobby everybody to see that you people obey laws, what did Adobe do? Adobe said, I'm going to lock it all up on a cloud. तुमको थोड़ा सा यूज़ करना है, यूज़ करो. अच्छा लगा तो ज़्यादा पैसा दे के यूज़ करो. And slowly, that's why we're all buying Hotstar Premium from Hotstar Free, and that's how the freemium model came into being. Adobe was not a freemium model, it was a pay-as-you-use model. So you can actually, instead of educating the customer, work with the customer and find solutions that work for the customer. That's what customer obsession actually does. When you look at Indigo Airlines, I sometimes get so hostile. I say, You're in the hostility business because you make me stand in the bus and we all experience it. While your aircraft is being cleaned, I'm standing like cattle in the bus. You are rushing me out there and waiting because you want your on-time delivery. But in our dimag ki computer, why do we say Indigo is a good airline? Because it delivers on its promise of getting me there on time. It delivers on its promise where you can be fairly sure if it's your child's birthday and you have a 5:30 Indigo flight, you will be home in time for cake cutting. So do you mind being treated like cattle? I think you live with it in your dimag ka processing. Not everybody feels that way, some people do. So I think these are some of the directions of customer obsession. So customer obsession is not to do what your customer tells you to do. It is not even to ask your customer to do your job. People say, oh, we ask the customer, what can the customer tell us? That's not customer obsession. That is passing on your job to your customer. Using your skills as a company, your skills as an individual, applying those skills to solve the customer's problem is what customer obsession is. And customers only know their problems, they don't know their solutions. So I have a friend who used to run a large air conditioning company. And he said that every time we ask customers, do you have a problem with your air conditioner? The customer would say, no, I have no problem with my air conditioner is fine. If you change the question and you say, what problem do you have sleeping in an air conditioned room? Then the answer is different. People say, oh, it gets very cold in the night, then I have to wake up, then I have to go to the loo, then I come back, neend kharab ho gayi. Now that's all the customer will tell you. How to fix that? Through fuzzy logic, through understanding how physiology changes, through creating something that automatically adjusts the temperature so you can get a good night's sleep, is your job as a company. If you say, no, I'm going to actually force customers to do it, they don't actually think that way. So you can't ask the customer, you have to use your capability to solve a customer problem. Solving the problem and understanding your capability and putting the two together, like bifocal lenses in specs, is really what customer obsession is. I could tell you a lot more stories, but I think we'll run out of time and you will get bored. So I'm going to ask you the last question. How do you create a culture of customer obsession? I will share with you what I see some companies do that have, I believe, created the culture better than others, and this is a journey. One is the tone at the top. So if you see the vision and mission statements of a lot of companies, it's all about me. I will be the best, I will delight customers, I will make sure I wake up every morning on time and think about the customer, I will be the most profitable. It's all about me. I'm the bank that never sleeps, I'm the company that never gives up. But if you change it and say, I'm going to state my vision in terms of what I do for you, that's when you start seeing what the better companies do. Go and Google the vision and mission statements of Amazon and PayPal and GE and Philips. It's all about what I do for you as a customer. So that's the first one. The second is to understand that a business is actually a promise to the customer and everybody has to work to deliver that promise. So for example, there's a restaurant in Bombay, it's closed now, it used to be called Sidewalk. And they called it a fun dining restaurant, not a fine dining restaurant. And their waiters are supposed to have fun, they're supposed to talk to you, it's supposed to be a pleasant experience. So I asked the owner, how do you recruit? And he said, I recruit by asking waiters, tell me a joke. Because I want to see if they have social confidence, if they know their limits. He said, I can teach them how to carry trays. So the HR manager also has to be part of the journey, as does backend, as does processing, because eventually it is the promise to the customer. If you are Johnson & Johnson and you say, my promise to the customer is safe and mild and gentle and pure for your baby, you have to authorize your salesman to be able to pull off a dirty pack in the shop, whether it's in Jalandhar or Jhansi or in Madurai or wherever it might be. So a business is what we call a value delivery system. A business exists to fulfill promises to the customer, and everybody's business is to help fulfill that customer. You cannot have, like you see, the front end saying best restaurant for fish and the back end saying expert in Mughlai cooking. You cannot have half the organization looking in one direction and half the organization looking in another direction. how do we actually also have, some kinds of benefits for it? Sometimes I ask people to make presentations without using the word product. Can you tell me about your business only using customers and customer lives and not about the product? We also look at telling salespeople that when you talk to a customer, talk to the customer about the customer. Don't talk to the customer about yourself. Look for answers to what you think are trends. If they tell me the scooter segment is declining and the motorcycle segment is growing, you should ask, has the need for families gone away in India? How are people carting families on motorcycles? Whatever happened? Or if you say that this segment is growing or ULIPs is growing or something else is growing, you have to ask yourself, why is that happening? And force yourself to find customer answers to questions. I think companies that don't get customer answers to questions, but talk about trends in markets, trends in shares, product trends, aren't really customer obsessed. And I think what you do for customers to make the world better is the heart of it all. Philip says, I do problem solving innovation. That means if there is a football field adjoining a highway, I should be able to light up the football field well enough for cameras, but not have a drop of light fall onto the highway. So in sum, the heart of strategy, as my guru, who's a man called Kenichi Omai, who is the head of, used to be a strategy, he's written a brilliant book called The Mind of a Strategist. He says that the heart of strategy, the heart of a business, is creating wealth for the business by creating value for the customer. It is the by creating value for the customer that is important. And so I'm just going to leave you with the thought that smart customer obsessed companies are all the time obsessing about how to use their capabilities or get capabilities to solve customer problems and to understand both equally well. That is my understanding of customer obsession. It is about living in the world of customers. It is about respecting the world of customers. It is not about saying profit or customer. It is about through customer, can we get profit? I hope that is an adequate understanding of how I see the world. I always operate in the world of customers. And I think that when the world of business and the world of customers, the world of supply comes together, that's when we have the best possible solutions. So I wish you best of luck. I hope you go from strength to strength. You are already a formidable company, so I hope you become even more formidable, and I'm sure you will get there. Thank you very much again for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.